What is going on? Governor's Chisgule here, and today the latest patch has hit. We're going to review everything that we can find, and we've got two brand spanking new commanders that we've got to review. Hello my friends and welcome back. We're going to do first impressions on these new commanders, which is so exciting. I love when patches hit the game. I really do feel like we tend to get new stuff in this game at a rate faster than a lot of other games, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get this started. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. We're also a sponsored content creator, and now that all the mumbo jumbo's out of the way, it's time for the reviews. First and foremost, two new commanders, one from Mightiest Governor, the other from the Wheel of Fortune. They are both leadership, garrison, and defense commanders. Now, look, let me tell you offhand, where do I think both of these commanders are going to be very, very good? I think they're going to be very, very good in defending your city and Ark of Osiris. It's conceivable they also could be good for defending other structures, like in a kingdom versus kingdom context, especially in the context of defending against multiple rallies. We'll talk about why that is the case and why this might be one of the most important combos of garrison commanders you should be looking to obtain for your kingdom and alliance. Let's start with Theodora's first skill, Area of Effect Damage. Circular AoE, just like YSG, right over here. The second commander now to do that. She's even got as much damage factor as he does before the expertise skill. Yi Song is 1,700, she's 1,400. Very, very solid. This is amazing. I mean, this is an amazing skill, especially in the context of Ark of Osiris, where you hit lots of enemies. But even in the open field, a circular AoE damage effect is something that you have to take very, very seriously and could be game-changing there. Let's see if her other stuff lends her to that activity as well. Second skill when commanding a garrison. She's got to defend a garrison. 10% defense bonus, which, by the way, if you saw my last video, card up in the top with a new meta defense and garrison build, you're going to want to check that out. This is really good because if you're defending your city, you're going to have 4 types of units there. All 4 types of units will be there. So the 10% defense boost is kind of like 40% of stats in that context, 10 for each unit type. Damage from rallied enemies is reduced by 10%. Now this is really good if you are taking multi-rallies, as I was saying before. This is extremely similar, by the way, to Wu Zetian's second skill. We've seen this before. This is a damage bonus she gives, which I think is better than defense, by the way. And she's also doing damage to rallied armies, which I think is not quite as good in the situation where you're getting rallied by multiple armies. Why is that? All those multiple armies are going to be dealing normal attack damage and skill attack damage to you. And I guess Theodora is going to be doing skill attack damage to all the rallied armies that are maybe hitting you. But chances are that most players, when they're getting hit by multiple rallies, are not going to be doing as much damage out as they will be taking. And if that's the case, you're better off with higher reduction from rallied enemy armies. Anyways, continuing on, co-ruler, all troops under Theodora's command gain 10% attack. Again, very good when you're defending your city, where you're going to have lots of troop types that benefit. While Theodora's army is at more than 50%, her troops deal an extra 10% damage. I think this is really solid. However, if we just compare to Wu Zetian, this looks pretty similar. She gives 10% defense and 10% health and has a chance to silence the target. I mean, I might even argue that the 20% of stats from Wu Zetian is like better, given that it comes with a chance to silence the attackers. But all in all, I would say this is commensurate. I mean, this, you have to have more than 50% strength to even get the damage boost. So I think if you look at sort of the second and third skill of Wu Zetian and the second and third skill of Theodora, they're about even, okay? And why am I comparing to other commanders? I'm just trying to get a sense of how good they'll be by comparing to ones that we know how good they are, okay? The next skill, Royal Power. When commanding the garrison, each time Theodora's troops takes damage, they have a 10% chance to gain 10%, or I guess 30% damage for 40% damage, actually, for 3 seconds. This is really good in a situation, potentially where you're getting swarmed, if each thing hitting you is giving you that 10% chance. I don't know that that's how that works, but it sounds like it's how that works. This is less exciting if there's only a 10% chance for every round that you're getting hit, rather than for every army. And I don't know what it means here, each time your troops take damage, because technically you take damage from every army in every round, but they might just say, yeah, for each turn of combat, you're taking damage once and count it as a 10% chance. We'll have to test with this and see exactly how it works, but offhand, a 40% damage boost is extremely good. Just comparing, again, back to the other leadership garrison commander we have, this is doing something entirely different. Okay, so I guess maybe it's not the best comparison point, but I do think that this fourth skill giving you a big damage boost sounds very nice, especially when you've got lots of troop types. Now, the expertise skill here could make or break this commander. Let's evaluate this. Immediately removes any slow and control effects from Theodora's troops prior to doing her AoE damage. It does also elevate the AoE damage factor by 300. This is exceptional. Her first skill is better than Yi Song's. When you expertise her, it's doing as much damage, and you are removing control effects. A commander that does that is often underrated is Kusunoki on his active skill. He also removes control effects and negative effects. Now, this says slow and control effects. I don't know exactly what qualifies as a control effect in this situation versus like negative effects, as the wording is on Kusunoki. Is this just, oh, we didn't use consistent wording, or is this actually a different effect? We'll have to test with that and see. Overall, Theodora, very, very good for defending a city. Very, very good in Ark of Osiris for defending a structure as well, because you're likely to have lots of troops swarming around. You could dump her into basically any type of rally and then make her the garrison commander after that rally has concluded, which seems very, very strong, seems very effective. Overall, I think she will be powerful in that context. I also think she's going to be powerful for defending against multi-rallies. And we'll talk more about that after we review the next commander. We now have a YSS. We had YSG, now we've got YSS. Yi Sun-sin, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. The active skill deals direct damage factor of 2,000 to the target. That is a lot of direct damage factor damage to a single target. Most field fighting, you really would prefer to have area of effect damage. So debatable how exceptional that is. The 2,000 damage factor is high, though. In a garrison, deals damage up to 3 targets, so I like this. In a fan-shaped area, 1,400 damage factor. Yet another reason why I think this is a commander that is really good in Ark of Osiris. And that is in part because, look, most flag battles, you're defending against a single rally. AoE is, good to keep the enemy honest, but you really want to slay that rallied army. You'd rather have more damage to the rallied army. Continuing on, in field battles and garrison battles, damage dealt also reduces the movement speed of the target, all right, whatever, by 30%. We really don't care about that so much for hitting a rallied army, but we do care about that for the open field marches, kind of control them a little bit. I like the 1,400 damage factor, AoE damage for the garrison. It's very powerful. If somebody walks near that garrison and they're not paying attention, they could have their troops die, which is pretty savage. Next skill. Normal attacks have a 10% chance of increasing your defense by 20% and your damage by 15% for 3 seconds when this commander is fighting in your alliance territory or serving as a garrison commander at a stronghold. That language stronghold could just be one of those situations where it's like, oh yeah, we thought it meant the same thing, and we're just using some nice sounding wording. I feel like you could have just ended that sentence as or serving as a garrison commander. So this at a stronghold thing is maybe a little confusing. What's a stronghold, what isn't? Hopefully your city qualifies as a stronghold. If it doesn't, then this commander is good for defending things other than your city. Overall, I'd say the 20% defense boost is astonishingly good. The chance to have a damage bonus as well is very, very good. And it comes with a downside, which is that, look, your normal attacks, I think it's your normal attacks, have a 10% chance of giving this effect. I think it's good. Let's continue on here. Next skill, increases troop defense by 30%. Let me pause for a second. 30% is really good for defending your city, or if you have multiple troop types there, because that's like 120% of stats, okay? Siege units, archers, cavalry, infantry, all of them get the benefit. Okay, that's very, 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 very good. Normally to get a stat boost like that, you have to be all in on one troop type. Like Artemisia, 40% of stats, but only for archers. We're all in on one troop type. But YSS, nope. 30% defense. You get defense. You get defense. You get defense. Everybody gets some defense. And when your troops under your command drop below 50%, you get a 20% damage boost. Very nice. For defending most things, that's really amazing. Even for defending your city, 20% damage boost is amazing. So this skill, while it was maybe a little lackluster because, you know, you have a 10% chance, it looks like, from your normal attacks to have this go off, this skill makes up for it by just giving you outrageous amounts of stats basically all the time, and when you get below 50%, which seems really good. The next skill, Winged Formation, I can pronounce that one, increases attack of garrison troops by 20% when serving as a garrison commander. See, this is where it's like, does the strongholds thing over here, was that just flowery language, or do you mean something different? Anyways, gains a 10% chance of receiving a shield, damage factor of 500. So there's a built-in Skolas's Lucky Coin effect over here, 10% chance to receive a shield, plus, but there's more, plus 30% counterattack for the next 3 seconds when attacked. So there's a chance when you're attacked. Now, this seems pretty good. If this works the way I think it does, where it's, you count that for every army hitting you. This is once again really amazing for defending a garrison in Ark of Osiris, because your structures are going to get swarmed, and that is going to be amazing in that context. Lots of marches giving you a chance to get a shield, and it doesn't list an internal cooldown here. There might be one, but it doesn't list one. So we don't know how frequently that shield could fire off, but if 10 armies are swarming you, and there's no internal cooldown on this, theoretically you could have the shield fire off like every single turn nearly, but I guess we'll see once we get our hands on this commander. There is still an expertise skill, and this one is mind-blowing to me, okay? This expertise skill is really good. Increase troop attack by 20% and defense by 20% when commanding 2 or more unit types. Where is this instantly amazing? Defending your city. That's 40% of stats, and if you have 4 unit types, which you will, that's 160% of stats. Holy jeez. Hello, city defense. Wow. If you're defending a garrison in Ark of Osiris and people are just dumping their troops in, guess what? That's really, really good. If you were to take a structure in Ark of Osiris and it's, on the enemy side of the battlefield, this is really good. People can drop in there, whatever they have. This commander seems really powerful. For perspective, 40% of stats on this expertise skill, and poor Constantine getting left in the dust with his 20% of stats. Now, there's no downside to this, okay? Constantine's got no downside. You don't have to have 2 troop types. But, I prefer commanders that have a downside, and then you just use them in the situation where that downside doesn't matter. And that downside doesn't matter if you are in your city or dumping lots of troops in to defend flags, holy sites, etc. Now, when are you just going to be dumping troops in like crazy to defend things? In a situation where you're battling into Kingsland and your flags are getting multi-rallied, card up in the top if you want to see where that happened to us. This is going to be extremely powerful to get just more stats for more unit types, because people are going to have to dump in whatever they have. There was so little space to teleport into Kingsland. You just had to use whatever you had on hand at that moment and get into the dang garrison. So I think this could be very good in that context. Overall, I think these commanders are certainly exciting for defending your city and garrisons in Ark of Osiris, and potentially multi-rallies in Kingdom versus Kingdom, which is an important role to fill. Overall, I don't think every player has to have these. I do think that they will ultimately outpace Wu Zetian, but we'll have to do some testing and see that that is ultimately the case. What I think is interesting about these commanders and about Wu Zetian as a commander is that, look, how many dedicated city defense commanders do you need? Probably not more than 2, but I guess it depends on how many garrisons you're going to go and captain. I was looking at, maybe investing in Wu Zetian, and now we're going to hold off for these commanders over here, and it looks like all of a sudden this legendary equipment that gives stats to lots of different unit types, which I generally am not a fan of, because up till this point in the game, having lots of different unit types, that wasn't really the exciting thing to do. Going all in on one unit type was the thing to do. It looks like some of this other gear is going to get a breath of fresh air and might be quite good all of a sudden under a leadership style commander. Interestingly, with this update, I found no new equipment to evaluate. However, we did catch a couple other interesting things to see. If we make our way into the avatar frames, there is going to be a new event. The Dragon Boat Race will have a bundle, and there's going to be some interesting events related to this, and also a bundle to purchase. If we go in and look at the city skins, we sniffed out a couple things there as well. The Melk Abbey looks like there is going to be an event, likely an event involving training large amounts of troops and gaining large amounts of power for the Dragon Boat Festival that will offer you 10% cavalry health. If you've got the Season 3 KVK skin that gives 10% cavalry defense, you're probably fine. You might not need to go and get this one too. We'll see if we end up hunting for this. Dragon Boat Wish offers 5% archer defense, and you lose 5% cavalry health. I am not all that excited about this skin, although it does look kind of cool, the whole dragon boat coming out of your city there. And the Mayan Mystery skin is an award that the participants for the Ark of Osiris Invitational will get. It gives them 3% healing speed, 10% infantry defense at the cost of cavalry attack. I think this is a great open field skin that, look, I use, 2 infantry marches. I'd like to use 3 to 4 infantry marches for my murder ball in the open field. This would be a really great skin. You get the healing speed, you get the infantry defense. I would use this if I had it, but I don't. And it only comes from the Ark of Osiris Invitational, and only, I guess, goes to the winners. Cool. So, other things that we noticed is that in the Alliance tab, there is an Alliance calendar. Will be really cool to see how that all plays out. And weirdly enough, the commander for our mightiest governor, even though we've had 6 Artemisias, still has Artemisia listed. I think this is going to change over the next couple days, and then we'll be good to go. We've got to run for now, but be on the lookout for more in-depth guides on these commanders very, very soon. I think they are pretty exciting. I, however, am not in love with the leadership tree on these commanders. Weirdly enough, I don't think this is very exciting. If you just look at leadership talents, if we're talking about defending a city, okay, these commanders, both of them don't have any healing. You don't have a big rage engine to warrant going all the way up to strategic prowess, especially because there's so many points of march speed here that you don't want to get and do nothing for you. The only thing in the leadership tree I'm excited about is Hidden Wrath, which makes it so that if you're getting swarmed, you generate huge amounts of rage, and maybe that's where the rage engine lives. We'll have to see what we think of leadership as a tree here, but I think that you'll really find plenty to do in the garrison tree and defense tree. We got plenty of places to put our points. We'll probably just jump up here to get Hidden Wrath. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it and consider subscribing so that you can see our latest thoughts, opinions, and perspectives as they evolve on these commanders and how they change the meta in Rise of Kingdoms. Until next time, you have fun. smashing the kingdom.